welcome to another Galactic Mayan Astrology report. So this is a particularly special report because the new Wavespell that we are going into is actually being initiated on the 25th of July, which is the day out of time. So if you don't know what that is, have a little look on the other video on my channel called A Day Out of Time. And essentially what this time is, the 25th and the 26th of July, is the end of and the beginning of the year in Mayan and Egyptian and various other communities. That's when they saw the end of the year and the beginning of the year because of the movements of Sirius. So it is when Sirius rises in the sky. So I'm going to make another video about the new year that we're moving into on the second day of this Wavespell, which begins on the 26th of July. But for now, I'm just going to focus solely on the energy that we are going to be moving through for the next 13 days in relation to the Wavespell. So the Wavespell that we are moving into takes us into the central column of the whole process. This is an extremely potent time. And again, all of the different waves and all of the different cycles are now aligning to really create this really powerful gateway for us. So this Wavespell is the Wavespell of the mirror. Now, the mirror is all about the mirror of reality. It's about being able to recognise what is playing out in our experience is what is going on for us at a deeper level. Now, we get to see ourselves, we get to see our beliefs, we get to witness everything through this mirror on the outside. But what we do with that, it's always about taking it in. So we recognise what is playing out within our lives, what are we still stuck with, what have we moved forward with, what is bouncing back to us, and how can we decode that to recognise where we need to dive into self to dismantle. So again, for me, this time on the planet is really about dismantling victim consciousness in whatever way that manifests for us. And this really is what the mirror is about too, because when we are always the one that is stepping into life and projecting onto life and co-creating with life, then in order for anything to shift, in order for anything to change, it's about us changing on the inside. So within the Wavespell, it's a white sign. The white signs are all about refinement. The white signs are all about getting clear. It's really this like clarity energy with the white signs. It's like no longer foggy and also no longer simply symbolic. There's something about within the white signs, it kind of comes into form. It's a very clear energy and it supports us to like really wiggle into alignment. So the mirror really also is about truth. It's about the sword of truth. It's about, you know, these moments of like really being able to stand in integrity and claim what is ours, but also hold our space. Hold our space and claim what's ours. This dance that we're doing all of the time, which again, when we've been conditioned to be victims, because that is what, you know, if you feel into all of these different agendas and everything else, it's like everything has always been about dismantling the power that is within us, perhaps so that we can rediscover it and turn it back on, who knows? But really it's this, okay, so if I'm not a victim, how do I step forward from here? How do we step into situations from an empowered place? How empowered are we? This is what the mirror really reveals. And empowerment to me is about the ability to make choices, to step into, you know, what we want from life, how we want to be, how we want to show up. And again, what the mirror really reveals to us is where we are at. So the process, you know, within the Mayan calendar that I feel has really supported me, and you know, recently there have been people that have, you know, commented on videos saying that they don't feel aligned with it, and that's so fine. You know, this is just one lens of witnessing reality. But for me, what I've noticed through consciously going through the 9-month process for many, many years now, this journey started for me in 2013. So from that, what I've noticed is that the same codes, the same themes of experience come to me always. How I step into them, and therefore what happens with the energy that is coming in, is different, because I'm different, because I'm doing the conscious evolution process. The way that I step in now in comparison to the way that I stepped in 5 years ago is different. So even though that same theme of experience of, oh, potential conflict, this me 5 years ago, run for the hills. This me now, step into it, okay, where do we go from here? How do we work with that energy? And that's really what this process reveals to us. It's always this marker of our ability to be in integrity. And again, this is such a huge part of the mirror. And the other piece, you know, that we are always working with is that this entire reality is a metaphor. We are dancing a metaphor, always. And this is the mirror, you know, the mirror is like always revealing to us, reality is always revealing to us in multiple ways what is going on within us. What are our belief systems? Where did they come from? That's the key to the dismantling process. You know, we're working with the child versions of ourselves all the time. And sometimes what we see in the mirror is so hard and so bitter to deal with that we dissociate, and it's more comfortable to be in victim. It's more comfortable to be like, this is you, this is your problem, as opposed to the taking in of the medicine that it is, playing with it, seeing, okay, is that true? Can that be true for me? How soft can I allow myself to be to receive not only what I want, but what I don't want? And again, this is another big piece of what I feel to be playing out at the moment. You know, this idea of receiving, it's about really allowing ourselves to open to the fullness, you know, in every way. So again, with the mirror process, we are really invited to be honest with ourselves, to be honest with ourselves about where we're at, to be honest with ourselves about what we want, to be honest with ourselves about, okay, so if that's going on in my life, what's going on within me? What needs to move within me so that that can be responded to in a different way? How do I reach my own liberation? Not like this, waiting for somebody to come and rescue me, but going inward. The other piece of that, though, is that we have to be gentle with ourselves. We have to be compassionate with ourselves. If we still go into that space and wanting to be rescued, then that's so okay, but just doing it with awareness. And I think that's it's like the way that we grease the personal development process is always through unconditional love. How can we notice our edges, notice our fuck-ups, notice our messy bits, and still be loving and compassionate to ourselves, as opposed to denying that it's there or completely berating ourselves and not wanting to leave the house? Where is that sweet spot where we can sit in the place of, wow, okay, yeah, I think I fucked up there. I don't think that was right. But also, there's no right or wrong. It's okay to be learning. I'm going to integrate this and I'm going to step forward differently next time. So this mirror process as well is about projection. This is the shadow of the mirror. So we can be projecting, we can be projected upon. And really what this process is about is not trying to convince the other to do anything, to see anything. It's about, okay, how do I deal with this for me? What do I do with this? Am I going to take on board what that person is saying? Do I feel like there's space for that to be true for them and not true for me? Is it that it's true for both of us and I don't want to look at it? Really this like foggy projection land that we live in. can really make it difficult for us to progress in relationship. And this is the other piece of the mirror, the medicine of the mirror. It's always about the relationship. You know, it's the relationship between us and our reality, us and the other. You know, it's the relationships all the time, and we can really, really transform within this Wavespell if we can allow ourselves to soften, to receive, to witness, and to accept everything that we're seeing, but also learn from it. You know, sometimes we're caught in these cycles for so long. You know, we've just been knotting around the same issues in different ways with different characters, but that same core thing all of the time. And for a long time it might be like, oh, it's all them, you know, it's just my pattern to be a victim to all of this. It's like, ooh, maybe there's a bit of a deeper truth within that, that it's something within us that needs to shift in order for that to break. So look out for truth. Examine truth, because truth as well, this is something that's been coming up for me and a few of my sisters that I'm journeying with at the minute. Truth is fluid, so truth isn't ever fixed. But can somebody's truth be their truth without you having to close them down or deny their truth because it doesn't feel like yours? Does that make sense? It's like, how can we hold it all? How can we hold one another? How do we communicate from that place of, okay, that doesn't necessarily feel right for me, but it's so right for you, and I'm going to give you the space for that to be truth. And then where do we go from here? Without saying that it's not right, and without pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling, how do we allow it all to then come to a place inside of us that feels like our integrity? So I hope that this day, again, because it falls on this incredibly auspicious day of the day out of time. The reason that it is called the day out of time is because within our journey around the sun, the moon is constantly orbiting the earth. It takes 28 and a bit days to go through that cycle. Or is it 29? But we've got, 28, sorry. We've got this moon cycle. So if we were to count the moon cycles on our journey around the sun, there would be 13 moon cycles. That's the natural rhythm, not 12 months of unequal days. So when we look at that, we then have one extra day on our solar cycle that doesn't fall into the 13 moon months. We have an extra day, and the 25th of July is that extra day, and it's a day out of time because it's a day where we are off grid. It's a day where we can wrap up the previous year cycle and what a year it has been before we blast off into the new one. So keep an eye out, because I'm going to be sharing another video probably tomorrow that is about the new year that we are moving into on the 26th of July. So I'm sending you loads and loads of love and loads of blessings, and I hope that you have a wonderful Wavespell and Happy New Year.